Hello and welcome. You're watching News Central Television. I am Judith at TB. It's time for News Central now, and here are the top stories of this hour. Former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar resigns from People's Democratic Party, PDP, to join forces with opposition stalwarts in anti-Tinubu coalition. Turkey warns of Fethullah terrorist group using schools, health services as cover in Nigeria. 200 people buried in Sudanese village after RSF attack. Details shortly. And we begin with politics. The former vice president and the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the 2023 general election, Atiku Abubakar, has resigned his membership of the opposition party. His resignation follows decision to join a coalition under the African Democratic Congress, ADC, in the build-up to the 2027 general elections. The resignation was communicated in a letter dated Monday, July 14th, 2025, addressed to the chairman, PDP, Jada Jada local government area of Adamawa State, and signed by the former vice president. A copy of the letter was shared on X by the special assistant on media to the former vice president, Abdul Rashid, on Wednesday. Away from that, the Turkish government has warned that members of a terrorist group known as the Fethullah terrorist organization exist in Nigeria and also operate in other countries around the world. Turkish ambassador designate to Nigeria, Mehmet Muroy, made this disclosure, noting that the terrorist group is using schools and health services as a cover for its operations in the country. Muroy was speaking on Tuesday night in Abuja at a dinner organized by the Turkish embassy to mark the country's Democracy and National Unity Day. The Turkish envoy stated that through international cooperation, Turkey has successfully disrupted many FATU cells and networks operating in allied countries worldwide. According to him, numerous institutions, especially schools that form part of FATU's international network, have been taken over by Turkish institutions. Joining us for more on this is more insight on this. We have Darlington Umoru, security analyst from Lagos. Darlington, many thanks for joining us. I mean, how real is this threat and why now?
Well, I think the Turkish ambassador really has not given us enough intel to really talk about what centers. We will need more intel on this to be able to ascertain how and why they have to, use schools. And is it that he's talking about the group building schools in Nigeria? Is it that the group is funding schools in Nigeria? Is it that the group, the Fethullah group, is giving grants to schools and health centers in Nigeria? All of that is yet to me still not completely opened. You see, there's something we must not continue to admit.
We seem to be
amongst us. They want to tell us some things that will really create additional challenges to what we really have. Now, there's a process. If you have such information and you have that intel, who is it supposed to say it at a dinner? Is it not supposed to relate with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where the security chiefs cannot be brought about to all sit down and judge over it, and then he will submit the intel within his position or possession, and then allow our security arrangement. Recently, Mr. President started what he called the clearinghouse. And that clearinghouse ordinarily is where such intels are supposed to be shared. And then you need to announce it. If you have an idea of who they are and where they are, By the time you share that intel with the security agencies and the military, is it not for them to go and nab them, other than to alert them and let them understand that they know they are here? If that happened in Turkey and you had that issue, and you are in Nigeria now, we don't need more panic. We don't need all of that. Go to the appropriate quarters and share the intel information that you have, and then they'll carry it out and then get these guys arrested. If you know who they are and where they are, what schools they are using, what health facilities they are using, in what capacity are they building, are they sponsoring? These are some of the things we need to be telling these people. They, other than in most times, don't want to create unnecessary alarm where there's supposed not to be any. We have enough on our hands that our security agencies and the military are battling at the moment. If you have additional information as to how all of this is happening, then share the intel with the appropriate quarters. That is what I think it should be. Not creating unnecessary alarm and wanting to put fear in the hearts of Nigeria. You want Nigeria to begin to say, okay, there's an additional terrorist group in Nigeria. What are the facts? Give us the facts. Present the facts to the appropriate quarters to work.
Now, some have also argued that it is no more than Turkish propaganda. Is that the case, really? Would you say that it's a propaganda by the Turkish government?
I don't know why they want to use that. It is a propaganda. What do they want to achieve by doing so? Other than create additional panic within the people. Propaganda, what do you want to achieve? My challenge is this: I'm not saying it's impossible. If you know that because you are arresting and picking them, they have migrated to this part of the world, like he claimed that they are everywhere in the world. If they have moved over to this part of the world, for goodness sake, and you have the intel, there's an appropriate quarters where he is supposed to share that intel with. If the security envoy within his embassy have been able to discover that those the Fetullah group are in Nigeria, do they need to raise an alarm? They don't need to raise an alarm. We know there's a problem of proliferation of small arms and light weapons. In what capacity are they? Are they recruiting? Do they have foot soldiers? What are their intent? What do they want to achieve? Tell the appropriate quarters. Let the security agencies know. And then they will know how to do quietly. They will invade them, attack them, or take them out. Why are you creating another hula baloo among the people? When I heard that, I tried to reason it and I tried to look at some of the things he has said and how to really relate them with what we are suffering today. We have not had any group coming out to say they carried out one or insecurity attacks and that they are responsible and all of that, and that they are from the Fetullah group. So I think the federal government should not take this with kid gloves. If you ask me, I think the ministry or perhaps the federal government should invite that the ambassador to ask him to give information.
All right, that is it. Now that we're talking about the Nigerian government, so how best should they address this threat? Should they sit idly by, or what would you be the step-by-step process in just addressing this seeming threat?
The first step is to invite the ambassador. Get more information from him. Let him give us proof as to what he has alleged. Now, that is about intel. Give us information, and then those information should be processed. If he gives information, the information will be processed, and it makes it easier. And then that is the step-by-step we should begin with. But the federal government should not just take it with cheap gloves and allow it to just go like that. Call him, invite him, let him give out what the intel he has in his possession. And then they will now access it. And then by the time they access it, they will now begin to investigate let him give us the names, location, the schools, the names of the health centers, the names of the schools. Are the schools built here? Are they using schools that have been built here? Are they recruiting the students? Do they want to use the students? What is their aim? They cannot overthrow Nigerian government. They attempted to overthrow the Turkish government. It's not the same thing with the Nigerian arrangement. So if they are here, What is their aim? What is their essence? What do they want to achieve? Let him give those information, and then the information will be passed on to the intelligence unit of all the security agencies, who will now put heads together, examine all of what he has said, and then will begin to do follow-up and make some arrests or take out some of those people if what he is going to give is free. Otherwise, I think the Nigerian government should call for the Turkish government to call him back, to recall him back to his country. He should not come here and give us, he should prove all of this. All of this should be proven. Because otherwise it will be taken that the Turkish government itself is trying to create additional problems in Nigeria. That is the way I think it should be looked at.
Well, Umar, I must say thank you for taking out the time. Darrington Moore, he is a security analyst, giving us a bit of insight following comments by the Turkish envoy saying that there is a terrorist group that is taking front, and that is the Fethullah group. Once again, thank you for coming on. We switch gears now for more on security, as the Plateau State Governor Caleb Mofwang is touring Riom local government area, where 27 people, including babies, women, and the elderly, were killed in a Tuesday morning attack in Bini Jibo village. Officials of the affected council area confirmed the tragic incident. News Center's correspondent Chizoba Nyongwe filed in this report just after the attack. Take a look.
These are the scenes that welcomed one into the affected village of Jebu in Riom local government area of Plateau State early Tuesday morning. The village was thrown into shock and mourning when they were attacked with guns and machetes and their houses set ablaze.
Around 3 a.m., this community was attacked by the attackers. And of course, we thought the place was going to be protected, as the security men from the Sector 6 came with 2 gun trucks. And I was satisfied that my people are well protected.
Sincerely, it is very sad and unfortunate that up to today, these things have not come to an end. You have just witnessed, you've gone around together here, you've seen the dead bodies yourself. 27 people lying down.
While security personnel from different agencies were seen on the ground, the locals blamed them for late response, alleging complicity.
In fact, there was an early warning information, but we called. We didn't get response. If to say the security responded at the time we called them, this wouldn't have happened.
This is part of the collusion and the complicity of the security agents that have been sent to respond to a distress call, but they couldn't, and it led to this. The present STF commander, the sector commander, that is here in Rio, sincerely, we are not comfortable with this man. We must commend the STF operatives that were stationed at SOAP, because if not that they have stood their ground, the actually fatality would have been higher than this.
The dead were said to have been taken away for burial, while their loved ones left to mourn them make their demands known.
In other crimes, you have the federal police, you have the state police, and you have county police. Even universities in other crimes have their own police system. And until we begin to do this and forget about whatever resources we will spend and protect lives and properties of citizens, we'll be doing nothing.
I am calling on the governor as the chief security of this state. He should do something to Riom local government. He should do something to these people. People are becoming homeless. People are becoming fatherless. People are becoming motherless.
If these killings continue like this and government did not take any action on it, we will definitely tell the youth what to do. And they should not blame us at the end of the day of what we are telling our members to do. Why? Because we will not continue to die in the hands of people helplessly.
Now, with what has happened here today, not only the aged, the youth, babies, toddlers were all affected. They were killed. What they're asking for, I'm sorry doing this, but what they're asking for is that justice be done, that government, security agencies, and every other person or agency responsible to maintain peace and security of both lives and property should sit up and do the needful. for the safety of both human lives and their property. In Riom local government area for New Central, Chizoba Aniowe.
The third day of Fudai prayer for former President Muhammadu Buhari, who died on July 13th in London, held on Wednesday in his Daura hometown, Katsina State. It offered a time for friends and relations to gather and pray for the forgiveness of the deceased sins and to seek blessings for the afterlife. Vice President Kashim Shettima was among dignitaries at the event. Earlier, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and former Governor of Kaduna State Nasir El-Rufai visited the gravesite of the late President Muhammadu Buhari. Their visit follows a steady flow of tributes from national figures and citizens after Buhari's burial on Tuesday. You're watching news now on News Central Television. Let's go on a short break, but after the break, EFCC rejects Fayoshe's acquittal, heads to appeal court in alleged 6.9 billion naira fraud case. The details after the break. Stay with us. And you're welcome back. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has rejected the judgment delivered by Justice Chukwujekwe Anike of the Federal High Court in Lagos, which acquitted and discharged the former governor of Ekiti State, Ayo Fayoshe, from an alleged money laundering case it had preferred against him. Justice Anike on Wednesday declared the former Ekiti governor of wrongdoing while in office. Reacting to the development, EFCC spokesperson Dele Oyewale stated that the commission is already studying the ruling and preparing for an appeal. The former governor was rearraigned on Tuesday, July 2nd, 2019, alongside Spotless Investment Limited on an 11-count charge bordering on money laundering and stealing to the tune of 6.9 billion naira. The Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited has again brought together stakeholders from communities across the Trans-Niger corridor spanning rivers Abia and Imo states for an appraisal of its activities. The meeting, held in Port Harcourt, the river state capital, focused on raising awareness about the dangers of pipeline vandalism and its impact on health, with the goal of encouraging community members to take action against such activities. News Central's Biola Festus has more.
The Niger Delta region has over the decades suffered environmental degradation and loss of natural habitats due to oil pollution, largely from activities of illegal crude oil refiners and oil thieves. Saddled with the onerous task of providing surveillance for one of Nigeria's major crude oil pipelines along the Trans-Niger corridor, Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited, PINL, has continued to convene stakeholders' engagement meetings with the aim of ending crude oil crimes through collaborative efforts.
With a firm resolve to stop the bleeding of our national economy by unrelenting saboteurs, your mandate is now broadened to include all oil and gas assets, including gas pipelines within the NNPC classified Eastern Corridor. We call on you to stand even stronger together, step up your commitment, and carry out this broader responsibility with renewed strength and unity for the benefit of our dear nation.
PINL's recent stakeholders engagement held in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, emphasizes the devastating effects of illegal crude oil refining on the environment and socio-economic development of Nigeria.
Gas flaring contributes to air quality degradation, exposes populations to hazardous pollutants, and increases the risk of respiratory illnesses, cancers, and other health problems, it is also poses environmental risk that can indirectly impact or affect the health through contaminated water. So the message to every one of us is to ensure that every effort is put in place to stop the activities of illegal refineries in our locality.
As has been the tradition, stakeholders from oil-producing communities had the opportunity to critique PINL's operational strategies in their communities.
Pipeline infrastructure, we want to assure you in Ekpeye land that we will join hands with the youths to ensure that bunkering, illegal bunkering and flaring is curtailed.
I would like to express my appreciation once again to the Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited for organizing this meeting and for their commitment to foster a safe and secure environment for our community. Your dedication for...
Some of our farms and waters are getting revived. Let me tell you, pipeline infrastructure, you have not only secured our pipelines, you have secured our economy, you have secured our lives, you have secured our ecosystem, our farms and our waters and the air we breathe in.
Consistent with PINL's success in surveying the Trans-Niger pipeline, stakeholders and coastal communities are now calling on the organization to expand its scope to include waterways surveillance.
Over the years, decades that have passed, the IOCs have never engaged our community stakeholders like this frequently. This is a sense of ownership. This is a sense of partnership given to the host communities. And on this, I would applaud the PNIL for this continuous engagement with stakeholders. So our recommendation is, while this engagement is given, while this assignment is given to pipeline infrastructure, the feedback you are receiving is that there should be an additional job for you to do to secure lives and properties within the waterway and our landways.
Since introducing surveillance on the Trans-Niger pipeline, Nigeria's crude oil output has increased significantly. Stakeholders commended the federal government's efforts while suggesting that accrued funds be invested in the nation's economy, potentially through initiatives like fuel subsidies. In Rivers, for News Central, Biola Festus.
Away from that, for decades, the people of the southeastern part of Nigeria have yearned for addition of one or more states to present an equitable distribution of resources and liabilities among all geopolitical zones across the country. The recent discussion on constitution review in the federal legislature has once again awakened the quest. News Center's Chinwe Ogeli in this report samples the opinions of the people on the streets of Umuahia, the Abia state capital. Take a look.
At the Constitution Review hearing in Enugu recently, delegates representing various interests demanded different states' creation. In the end, 4 submissions on additional states were made, namely Aba State, Adada State, Anam State, and Anioma State.
42 years ago, the National Assembly approved Aba State for creation and asked us to go for a referendum. Ohaneze Ndi Igbo, sitting here in this city, recommended Aba as the 6th state for the Southeast Zone.
We approached the last Constitutional Conference in 2014 under Justice Idris Kutigi, who recommended the creation of Adada State. The entire Igbos met in Imo in order to choose one state that would be created. They came to a conclusion that it was Adada State.
Stakeholders are of the opinion that all the proposed states are viable and if created will create opportunities for development and employment.
It's like we're being marginalized in the area of state creation. There's no equality there. Go to the north, go to the south, and this east now, like we have few number of states. I think it's also affecting us in all aspects of the economy. So we need more states like Aba and other states.
Others, including Governor Alex Otti, says the creation of more states will position the zone at par with others.
Actually, every geopolitical zone has 6, and I believe the Northwest has 7 states. Only the Southeast has 5 states. So I'm also in alignment for the creation of 1 additional state in the Southeast.
There are, however, some residents who think a state such as Abia does not need further balkanization.
Me, I don't think there is a need for creation of another state in Abia State. I think we are okay with the one state that we have. They should create more local governments in Abia State.
Will the discordant positions of the Southeast on state creation strengthen their demand for additional states or otherwise? In Omahia for News Central, Chinwe Ugeli.
I switch gears back to politics as the former vice president and, of course, the presidential candidate for the PDP, and that is Atiku Abubakar, has officially resigned from the PDP, I beg your pardon, that's the People's Democratic Party, and has now joined ADC completely. His resignation was submitted to Jada Ward 1, Jada local government at Damawa. It was sent to the PDP in that state. Well, joining us for more insight on this is Dr. Sam Amadi. He's Executive Director at Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. Dr. Amadi, it's always a pleasure having you join us right here. Interesting development, anticipated, but interesting nonetheless. I've got to start with your thoughts. What are your thoughts on Atiku Abubakar's decision to resign from the PDP and outrightly join the ADC coalition? Do you think this move will have significant implications for Nigerian politics and for 2027?
I think, like you said, expected, perhaps formality, because being one of the, if not the most potent driving force of the ADC, one will expect that at some point Alhaji Abubakar would, leave the PDP formally and officially, and to become part of the now national coalition. And so, in a sense, it's an expected surprise again. But it's also, the implication is that we can now say for sure that he has crossed the Rubicon, and expectedly, and that then puts into sharp focus the politics of the ADC, both in terms of broadening its acceptability and membership, as well as deepening the struggle to win the ticket in 2029. So this signals that Atiku Abubakar to 2027 presidential ambition is going to succeed or flop on ADC. So there's no more surprise or speculation around what will he do. He's going to be here, he's going to dig in, he's going to fight or concede and perhaps be part of moving that coalition forward. So it clearly puts beyond any doubt, if there was any at all, that Atiku Abubakar is going to slug it out under this ticket. And now maybe signaling to his people and some of those probably who are still not convinced that they probably need to be sure now that this is where he's going. If they want him, and if they don't want him, then they know what to do.
Now, how do you think Atiku's decision will affect the PDP's chances in 2027 general elections? Would it now create an opportunity for other parties to gain ground, and even in the party, other individuals to gain somewhat of a trajectory in their political ambition for presidency?
I think it might have an ironical impact of clarifying PDP's fate. So, yes, everyone looks at Wike as the problem in terms of who is hobbling PDP. Wike clearly is of the view that PDP should die momentary death and wake up after 2027 when Tinubu gets his second term. So now Atiku has left. The part of the issue has always been what to do with Atiku. Since 2019, what to do with Atiku has been a major issue in PDP, which means Atiku is now known as a perennial candidate for presidential election. So the question then is, are we going to have Atiku? And some people think that perhaps it's part of the conflict. Now, one major aspect is out. So you might see the shaking Makinde You might see Saraki and others now be more, maybe, brace up to embrace PDP. And maybe if the Wike factor is finally overcome through maybe a convention at any point, you might actually work to have PDP have a real candidate. Some permutations out there, there's been some call on PDP to come back, which is not looking realistic. Some people are talking about Goodluck Jonathan, coming in and being a flag bearer. His wife has shut it down, and the body language suggests that maybe there's still something in it. So this might ironically clear the way for PDP to emerge stronger, more clear, because nobody's talking about Atiku in PDP 2027, which has been a major issue. Either you're for Atiku or you're not for Atiku. And the word in town, the word out there, that some of these governors who are the campaign maybe may be trying to avoid the Atiku angle. Now it's off. Are we going to see resurgence, some more clarity, and some more push to save PDP? We don't know, but very likely that may happen.
Now, some analysts believe that Atiku's move is a sign of the PDP's internal weaknesses. Do you agree with this assessment? And what do you think the PDP can do to retain its relevance at this time?
I think PDP is obviously very weak. If weakness is over weak, but I think Atiku's living at this point is that Atiku wants to be a candidate. That's what it is. I read this letter. He talked about PDP hasn't lost its vision. If it was possible to have a clarity that Wike is off at PDP and that they have the national executives fixed the way Atiku wants, even if PDP was weak, he would probably have stayed in PDP, because PDP really notionally has a better, structural, or potential structure than any of these parties, except the alliance gets stronger, coherent. So far, not yet there. So I think it's leaving because the PDP, his future cannot be, his political career cannot be prosecuted any further under that platform. And of course, he has been leaving PDP and coming back and leaving. So this is not anything unique. But whether it makes PDP stronger, what can be done to make PDP? I think the only problem with PDP is that it's not about leadership over the secretary. It's about the fact that some powerful persons in PDP have anchored their political career on PDP being weak. So if you get off the Wike group to say, you know what, why don't you pursue your political career with APC, and PDP might still bounce back. So PDP is just a victim of Tinubu's presidential ambition and the fact that he has co-opted a very powerful leader in PDP, Wike, who has also powerful structure, and that is like a strangling to death, a struggle with PDP breed. So if these other, I don't know who they are, but they are committed to invest time to fight to rescue PDP to start alone from Wike, and the PDP has a hope. Otherwise, in 2027, if PDP comes to distance fourth or third, as it might be the case now, is dead for all purpose.
Well, sir, I must say thank you, Doctor, for just taking out the time to join us and give us always insightful analysis, as always. Thank you once again to Dr. Sam Amadi, the Director for the Abuja School of Politics and Thought, just giving us a bit of insight following the move or the resignation of Atiku Abubakar from the PDP. Let's switch gears as civil society organizations are raising the alarm over what they describe as the unlawful detention of human rights advocate Emmanuel Acha. He was allegedly arrested at his home in Ebonyi State on the 25th of April, 2025, reportedly on charges of illegal possession of firearms and other undisclosed offenses. But Okechukwu Nwanguma, who is executive director of the Rule of Law and Accountability Advocacy Center, said Acha's arrest followed his legal action against the state government over a land dispute involving the Effium Iza communities. Now, speaking during a press conference in Abuja, in Lagos, on Wednesday, Nwanguma claimed that Acha was charged to court but has remained in detention since April.
As a threat that needs to be silenced. The suit that his community filed against the government was what triggered. In fact, while he's in prison, we hear that they have tried to get him to withdraw that suit and to write an undertaking that he was not going to get involved in that demand for justice for his people. So it's about governments, you know, rather than engaging in dialogue, using state power to silence people who are demanding justice.
Issues that are not consequential enough, you know, have been weaponized by authorities to silence dissent. And of course, this just, you know, goes ahead to reflect the backsliding state of the country's civic space. And to just retrace some of the things that my colleagues have rightly said earlier, that if actions are not taken, then civic freedoms in the country can be eroded.
Let's go on a short break, shall we? When we return, there's always plenty more. Stay with us. And welcome back. Is off to Sudan as local sources reported on Tuesday that residents of Sheikh Al Nom in Sudan's North Kordofan state buried 200 people following a devastating assault by the Rapid Support Forces RSF. The attack, which occurred Saturday and Sunday, was one of several recent RSF raids in the region. Eyewitnesses described scenes of destruction with homes set ablaze and families killed under heavy shelling. According to rights monitors, close to 300 were killed over the weekend in nearby villages. The area lies along key RSF fuel smuggling routes, making it a strategic target. Armed resistance from local tribes continues, with thousands fleeing towards safer zones. The RSF reportedly aims to control critical roads before seasonal floods begin, which typically restrict movement during Sudan's rainy season. Now to Central Africa. As months ahead of Cameroon's presidential election, growing voter registration queues in the capital, Yaoundé, reflect a nation anxious for change. But behind the scenes, cracks are widening within the ruling CPDM as internal dissent and high-profile defections shake the foundations of President Paul Biya's decades-long grip on power. Now 92, Biya has confirmed he will run for an 8th term, despite rising calls both within and beyond his party for fresh leadership. Kathleen Ndumong reports.
In Cameroon's capital, Yaoundé, long lines are forming outside the offices of Elections Cameroon as citizens register to vote in what many are calling a pivotal moment for the country's political future.
Selon moi, c'est un jeu politique. C'est eux-mêmes qui savent. Mais tout ce que nous on veut l'année-ci là, c'est le changement. Nous on est là pour le changement maintenant. Je pense qu'il est temps pour que les Camerounais ferment la page de tous ces vieux là.
This desire for change is growing louder across Cameroon. Frustrations over unemployment, stagnation, and limited opportunities have left many young people disillusioned with a political system they feel no longer serves them.
Les choses ne marchent pas au Cameroun depuis des années. Donc nous pensons que cette année, vraiment, ça doit être l'année idéale pour changer les choses. Oui, parce que, vous savez, nous sommes restés dans un système où depuis, nous les jeunes, nous sommes légués. Nous sommes muselés, on n'arrive pas à se mouvoir. Oui, on a fait des études, on a fait des formations professionnelles, il n'y a pas d'issue. Donc on pense cette année, on va vraiment aller au vote, on va aller dans les urnes, changer les choses, oui, pour aussi avoir une nouvelle ère.
Tensions are also mounting within the ruling Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, the CPDM, where signs of internal cracks are emerging.
L'actualité brûlante de ces derniers jours, entre les dissensions au sein du parti au pouvoir, nous avons eu la sortie du ministre Famdongo et la sortie du ministre René Sadi. De ces deux sorties, on retient une seule chose. Il y a une certaine frilosité au sein de la maison RDPC. Et cette frilosité se justifie par le fait que la structure pyramidale au sein de ce parti ne permet plus de pouvoir voir le sommet.
At the heart of that reluctance lies the party's longtime leader, President Paul Biya. Now 92, Biya is the world's oldest head of state and has ruled Cameroon for over 4 decades.
Les leçons que nous pouvons tirer de cette dissension n'est que la marque que le poteau central, qu'est le président et le candidat naturel du parti, ne fait plus l'unanimité. On peut le comprendre par les différents appels à d'autres candidatures et aux déclarations de certains membres du parti qui ont demandé à être investis.
This week, Biya confirmed what many had suspected. He will seek an 8th term in the 2025 election, citing what he describes as numerous and insistent calls for him to continue leading. But questions about Biya's health, his long absences from public view, and widespread allegations of corruption have fed growing skepticism both among the opposition and within his own party. Within the ruling coalition itself, long-standing allies are now breaking ranks. Former Minister Issa Chiroma Bakari and ex-Prime Minister Bello Buba Maigari, once vital to Biya's northern base, have launched rival presidential bids, publicly criticizing the administration for breaking public trust.
Nous avons plusieurs équipes qui, chacune d'elles, veut remplacer le père. Et ça se fait voir dans ce qui est en train de se passer entre le secrétaire général de la présidence qui convoque, le secrétaire du RDPC, les ministres qui ne sont pas d'accord avec lui. Pourquoi? Parce qu'il y a des ministres qui ont travaillé depuis très longtemps avec le président. Donc ils ont au moins la connaissance de comment il fonctionne. Et si aujourd'hui vous remarquez qu'il y a certains qui n'ont plus la légitimité, même au sein du parti, c'est parce que le papa ne tient plus les rênes, c'est tout. Et aujourd'hui, cette cacophonie montre à quel point non seulement le gouvernement est divisé, et le gouvernement n'est plus apte et capable de tenir ce pays. Il faut un gouvernement nouveau.
Cameroon's presidential election is expected to be held on October 12, 2025. The contest will feature familiar faces, Maurice Kamto, Joshua Ossi, Akere Muna, and possibly new alliances. But the stakes remain high. Paul Biya has never lost an election, winning his last in 2018 with over 71% of the vote, a result marred by allegations of widespread irregularities. As voters continue to register and campaigns gather pace, the question remains: can these elections deliver the new era so many Cameroonians are calling for, or will the political order once again remain unchanged? For News Central, I'm Kathleen Dongmo.
And in sports, Crystal Palace will appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sport after being demoted from the Europa League. The club earned their spot with a stunning FA Cup final victory over Manchester City in May. UEFA ruled that Palace must drop to the Conference League due to a conflict of interest. The issue involves former director John Texton, who also part owns French club Lyon. UEFA regulations prohibit owners from having controlling interest in multiple clubs competing in the same European competition. Palace argues that Textons didn't have sufficient control to violate these rules. Texton stepped away from Palace in July, but the ownership conflict dates back to last season, where Palace secured their historic cup win. The deadline for resolving such conflicts was March 1st. If the demotion stands, Nottingham Forest would take Palace Europa League place. We'll see how that will play out. That's all we can take at this hour, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. The former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has resigned from People's Democratic Party, PDP, to join forces with opposition stalwarts in anti-Tinubu coalition. Turkey has warned of Fethullah terrorist group using schools, health services as cover in Nigeria. And we also told you that 200 people have been buried in Sudanese village after RSF attack. Now to remember, they can send us your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number now showing on the screen. To follow us on social media, we're at News Central TV on all social media platforms. You can always watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and also on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Judith at TV. Bye for now.